Hi, I'm Shell. This is my first actual video other than the little heart rate monitor one that I did. I've got POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Obviously you've probably searched that if you've found this video. I've also got fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, which is kind of hard because fibro, chronic fatigue and POTS, there's a lot of things that overlap in each of those, and so it makes it really hard to diagnose each one individually. And a lot of people will have found that they'll be going to their doctor for ages and ages and saying, oh, I've got this and this and this and this happening, and I'm just so exhausted all the time and my heart's racing, I'm getting chest pains, I'm passing out or nearly passing out, everything hurts and I'm just so tired and I just can't stay awake, and they'll get lumped in as they're just tired, they just need some rest and go home, have a sleep, have a week off work and de-stress and you'll be fine. A lot of people put all of those symptoms into just, oh, you're just stressed category, which is really, really frustrating for people that are suffering. Chronic pain that goes along with it, obviously, but then on top of that, I've also got a lot of degeneration in my neck, like in my cervical spine. Listen, kiddies, don't spend your whole life falling off horses and landing on your head. Doesn't do you any good. And pars defect in my lower back, and which is spondylolisthesis, basically means that my lower spine, my L5 and S1 have kind of like, it's, with mine there's basically no disc there, and the L5 has slipped right forward. It's bone on bone, and the back of the vertebrae has actually broken off. The little Scotty dog has broken, and yeah, it's incredibly painful. And unfortunately, I've asked about having a rod or something put in there, or the little frog type clip things that they screw in these days, and they can't do that with mine. They reckon that it's probably too far gone, and that if they go in and muck it up, they could end up putting me in a chair for life and having to catheterize, which, considering I'm 45, is not really a great option. At least at the moment. On a good day I can, and even on a bad day I can sort of still hobble around and use my walking stick, or 99% of the time now I use a walking frame, wheelie walking frame, which at 45 feels really stupid to be using that, especially when I've been really active and running around after horses and doing farm stuff and fencing and everything all my life. Having my body basically fail on me and going downhill over the last 10-15 years has not been fun. I've been trying to avoid stopping and the doctor said to me a couple of weeks ago when I was in hospital for another issue, that I've got a man's brain, basically, that I just don't stop. I just go, nah, she'll be right. And instead of going and getting things seen to when I should, I just keep going because I go, she'll be right. It'll fix. That'll be alright. I mean, prime example, January, we were fencing. I was sitting on my milk crate because I can't stand up for very long at all. Like, I had to use my walker to get over to the fence and then sit on a milk crate directly so that I wasn't actually standing to take the pressure off my back. And the fencing strainers, I don't know if anyone who's watching has seen the big fencing strainers that you kind of lever, flick back, and copped me across the cheekbone. Damn lucky that it didn't actually break my face. But instead of stopping like most normal people probably would have, I got my housemate to just run and grab or her daughter actually, to go and grab a big ice pack out of the freezer, and we just duct taped that to my face, and I looked like Freddy Krueger because I had a straw hat on as well. It was actually quite funny, but it gave my housemate nightmares. But at least we got the fence fixed. But anyway, so on top of that, got anxiety, like major anxiety. I hate answering the phone, hate answering the door, can't cope with going out in public unless I'm with people that I know, and even then it gets too peoply outside, and I end up breaking down. I know I've broken down in the pharmacy a couple of times, and they've gone and put me in a nice quiet little room while I've waited for my scripts to be ready. Everything just stresses me out. Like, can be the stupidest little thing, and I'll cope perfectly fine with something else, and then the stupidest little thing will just set me off. Bipolar disorder, but that's actually really well managed, and I have mainly major depression, like major lows rather than the highs, although sometimes my highs are not actually what most people would say are manic highs. And sorry for the bumping. If you saw how I had the phone set up, I'll have to take a photo of it with something else, and when my dog moves on the bed it just makes it bump. My highs sometimes just come across in really, really intense bouts of frustration and agitation, or sometimes I'll just occasionally, if my body is going to let me, I'll go into a cleaning frenzy and I'll just completely clean the entire house. I don't tend to go and spend lots of money, which everyone kind of associates with the manic side of bipolar. A lot of people think that when you go manic, you go nuts and spend money and buy lots of stuff and you do lots of crazy things, but that's not always the case. But mine's really well managed, and it has been for years, and I am very good at telling when I'm just really, really cranky at something, or when it's the bipolar. And if it's not managed, I tend to say to my doctor straight away, look, not coping, things aren't quite working, we need to adjust things. So yeah, I'm the world's biggest stress head, major stress head, can't stop, every little thing I'll stress about, and that comes back to the anxiety as well. And that's also one of the things within POTS as well. You tend to get a bit anxious and a bit stressed out about things too. Just trying to think. Brain fog, massive thing. Everybody with POTS and Fibro tends to complain about brain fog. And yeah, I can tell you that's just crazy. And I get stuck on words. I'll be trying to get a sentence out and I'll know exactly what I want to say. The words just will not come out. It's like they get stuck somewhere between my brain and my mouth and just disappear. And then occasionally I'll just say completely the wrong word. And if you see me looking down, it's because I've got a list here of things that I was going to mention in this video. And so I'm just checking on those. Any bug or illness, like any flu or cold or anything that goes around, you can guarantee that I'll get it. And whereas a normally healthy person will get a cold or a flu and it might last a few days to a week, maybe a bit longer, or a cough might hang around for a couple of weeks if they've sort of been exposed to a really bad cough. I'll get it and it'll have me completely incapacitated for at least 2 or 3 weeks. Like I'll be completely out to it. It's a case of don't even bother asking me to do anything or participate in anything or anything for that time. And it's funny because when we've been trying to pin down when my POTS kind of started, and I guess one of the big things is when I was a teenager, when I was about 14, and we kind of almost put that down with the depression and the bipolar, but thinking about it, it could have been the start of something to do with the POTS as well. Every few weeks I'd get tonsillitis again, and I don't know why they didn't just rip the blooming things out, because seriously, it should have been done back then. But they didn't. And so yeah, that sort of started, and I'd get the sweats and I couldn't handle the heat, and I'd have to have the air conditioning or a fan on all the time. And everything hurt. It wasn't just tonsillitis, it was just all over. But the tonsils were definitely inflamed and definitely had all the pus and gross stuff that tonsils get on them. I think I've said I get migraines all the time. Had them for years and years and years. I'm 45. I've had migraines for at least 32 years. And I've had them to the point where it's not just taking the reliever and the preventer. I've ended up having to have like morphine or pethidine injections or whatever over the years, and Stemetil and Maxilon and the works. And quite a lot of the time when I lived out in the middle of nowhere, it was better to kind of deal with the migraine at home than go to the emergency room, because the drive to get there was anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour and a half, and that was kind of more than what my brain could take at the time. And I'd be like getting whoever was driving to pull over and so that I could throw up on the side of the road. Or it would be in the car in a bucket and it wouldn't be fun. So yeah, kind of dealt with them at home, but made sure that I always had lots of Maxilon and Panadeine Forte and the works. I guess the usual thing with POTS is that, and this is something that I've kind of wanted to bring up, and I've noticed with a lot of POTSies that have posted videos and everything, that everybody seems to be quite thin, and I am clearly not. And this is not from lack of trying. My diet's probably not the absolute best, but it's probably not the absolute worst either. And I really don't eat that much, and most of the time I just don't feel like eating at all. So I don't think it's so much a case of just pigging out on stuff all the time. But what really upsets me is that people say, like, they always say about POTS and Fibro and stuff, that it's one of those, but you don't look sick. Yeah, and especially when you're my size, they see me using a walker or my scooter or a walking stick or my disabled parking spot sticker in the car, and their automatic assumption is that, oh, she's just fat. I wish it was just that, oh, she's just fat. And anyone who says, oh, just go and get weight loss surgery, yeah, that's great, awesome. But when you don't heal, like I have, like I've said, when I get bugs and everything, they just last for ages and ages and ages. If I get a cut or break something, it takes so much longer to heal. If I go and get a gastric bypass or a gastric sleeve done, if that doesn't heal, I'm screwed. And it's really, really hard when you're laying there in hospital and you have a surgeon turn around and say to the interns, oh, she doesn't have the money to get a gastric band done, so forget it, she's not worth it. And yes, I put a complaint in about that doctor. My roommate in hospital actually heard him say that, so she put one in as well, and I got an apology from whoever it is high up in the hospital system, and that was in Victoria earlier this year. But it's really, really disheartening when people just see my size and assume that the only thing wrong with me is that I'm fat. I've always been fat. I've always been fit. However, with POTS, CFS, all the pain, the migraines, everything, the fact that my spine is so screwed up and I literally have my lower back just absolutely freeze on me some days, and I cannot move one leg in front of the other. I can't go for walks, like I can't walk for long distances. If I was to go, okay, I'm gonna walk around the block, or I'm gonna walk up to the park and back with the dog, that's great in theory. If I get halfway up there and my back freezes, and even though I've got my walker, how the hell do I get home again? It can't happen. And yeah, I see all these people with POTS and with other things similar that have got their feeding tubes and that have got their whatever all hooked up to them, and they're in hospital all the time, and they're really, really thin. And I completely understand that these people that are really thin, it is as hard to put weight on as it is for them as it is for me to lose it. And so I totally get where you guys are coming from. But I'm so sick and tired of being discriminated against and thought less of because of the fact that I'm not really thin and sickly looking. I look like crap most of the time. And I don't have the energy to do my hair or do my makeup. And thank God for Snapchat filters is all I can say when it comes to taking photos. But yeah, seriously, I would love to hear from other POTS sufferers who are in my situation, where they're overweight, they can't do anything physically other than, like, I use yoga bands and do stretches and everything, but then that leaves my muscles and everything completely fatigued, and I'm about screwed with that. So I would love to hear from other people and hear their suggestions. And yeah, I'm just a complete wreck because everything hurts all the time. I've broken so many bones over the years, and so I have to be really careful. Like, something hits me and I go snap or crack. Yeah, so, and I guess I'm so sick of, in February, March, when I had a heart attack in Victoria, and I guess the one good thing about that is they did say that with the angiogram, they said that my arteries were absolutely pristine and there was no disease in the heart muscle. There is a slight weakening in the wall, but they think that the issue was all caused by stress, and probably the POTS as well. Then they found a pulmonary embolism. Great. Got kicked in the leg by a horse that wasn't even mine. And so that probably caused that. I'd been smacked in the head numerous times over the years, but really smacked in the head, like in the left temporal lobe area by a horse, and had that scanned, and the doctors are all standing there going, right, well, you're getting rid of horses, because if you get another smack to the head, you're not getting out of bed without a helmet on, basically. And if you get yanked or pulled or anything else, you're probably not going to walk again, because if your back shifts, you're going to be completely and utterly screwed. So get rid of your horses. So that, after having horses in my life, my entire life, having to give that up, give up farm life, and move back to my hometown where my parents are, which is awesome, by the way, that I'm back here with them, not living in the same house like I've got my own house, but just living 2 minutes from them is awesome. But it's completely killed any sort of outdoor lifestyle that I had, and it's a huge adjustment. So I've got my cat and my dog and my Sid. I've got a sloth called Sid. He's my companion. And whenever I'm in hospital, Tess, my dog, sleeps with Sid, because he smells like me. So, yeah, but I don't know. I really don't know what the whole point of this was, other than to get that out. And I'd love to hear from other people who have the whole lot and how they deal with it, because I'm not dealing with it. I should be, but I'm not. Anyway, so I'll leave that one there, and I guess my next video I'll try and actually do it on a specific thing, not just like a all over everything. Okay.